I thought I was about to get promoted. My manager had spent weeks hinting that I was next in line for a senior position. I had led the company's biggest project, increased profits, and earned the trust of several major clients. So when the CEO asked me to meet him in his office, I assumed it was finally happening. Instead, he handed me a termination letter. No explanation. No warning. Just a signature and a security escort waiting outside. I was stunned. The strangest part was the look on his face. He didn't seem angry. He seemed nervous. As I packed my things, one of my coworkers slipped a note into my hand. It contained only 7 words. "You were fired because you found it." I refused the offer. The next morning, my bank account was frozen. Then my email accounts were hacked. A few days later, I learned that someone had reported me for corporate fraud using my name. Suddenly, I was the target of an investigation. The executives weren't trying to buy my silence anymore. They were trying to make me the scapegoat. For weeks, it looked like their plan was working. Then another twist changed everything. One of the company's board members secretly reached out to me. He wasn't trying to protect the CEO. He was building a case against him. The evidence I had collected wasn't just valuable. It was the missing piece of a much larger investigation that had already been happening behind the scenes. Couldn't stop thinking about that note. Found what? A week later, a former coworker contacted me in secret. He told me something unbelievable. During my last project, I had accidentally uncovered financial records that weren't supposed to exist. Millions of dollars had been moved between accounts through a series of fake vendors. At first, I assumed it was an accounting mistake. Apparently, it wasn't. The CEO knew I had access to the records. He couldn't risk me asking questions. That's why I was fired. But before leaving the company, I had backed up every file connected to the project. I suddenly possessed evidence that could destroy several powerful executives. Then I received an anonymous email offering me $50,000 to delete everything. 3 months later, federal investigators raided the company's headquarters. News helicopters filled the sky above the building where I had once worked. Several executives resigned within days. Investors pulled out. Clients canceled contracts. Then the biggest surprise of all became public. The CEO hadn't fired me because I was a threat. He fired me because he believed I was the only person who could expose him. And he was right. The evidence he tried so hard to hide became the reason his entire empire collapsed. The man who once had me escorted out of the building ended up walking out himself, surrounded by cameras and investigators. The promotion I thought I had lost no longer mattered, because in the end, I didn't just get my career back, I became the reason the truth finally came out.